Are you planning to take a cruise over spring break? Do you plan to visit the Caribbean in the near future? There are some things to consider before diving in, such as the impact on the environment and the lives of the local and native islanders. To begin with an overview, tourism in the Caribbean is a relatively new practice. As noted by Bekius' article, Tourism in the Caribbean, Impacts on the Economic, Social, and Natural Environments, resorts began appearing more frequently in the Caribbean islands in the years following World War II. Today, the tourism industry in the Caribbean supports well over 500,000 jobs and plays a vital role in the economies of over 30 countries in the Caribbean. Most tourists visit the Caribbean through cruise ships or through flying in to stay at resorts. While tourism may play a vital role in the economy of the many island nations, there are several drawbacks to the environment, the local economy, and other factors. To begin with the benefits of tourism, it creates jobs that have opened up due to the increase in hotels, restaurants, clubs, and bars. For example, in Rita Kennedy's article, The Effects of Tourism in the Caribbean, Kennedy states that the tourism industry provides over 700,000 jobs directly and over 2 million indirectly in 2011 alone. To give another example, in Karen Ellen's article, What Are the Benefits of Tourism in the Caribbean?, Ellen states that over 300,000 jobs just in hotels are available, and she goes to give an example of the growth of the Jamaica's Sandals Resort Farmers Program, which went from 10 farmers supplying 2 hotels in 1996 to 80 farmers supplying all hotels in the island in 2004. Plus, she gives the example about how consumers generally like hotels or just resorts that source things locally, so that's another benefit, and it's also pretty sustainable. In addition, tourism brings in billions of dollars to the Caribbean islands each year. And in addition to jobs, Hannah LaRock's article, What Are the Benefits of Tourism in the Caribbean?, she states that the tourism money, which helps support the economies and keep the communities thriving, also provides them with the resources to be able to come back and rebuild after natural disasters which plague the islands, such as hurricanes and earthquakes. In addition, Ellen brings up that the tourism industry helps create more involvement and appreciation in local industries, culture, and events. For example, Carnival in Trinidad brings in roughly 10% of the island's tourism income and attracts many visitors. To discuss some of the cons of tourism, we will begin to say that while tourism does bring in a plethora of benefits, there are some drawbacks. For example, in Aditi Shrikant's article, The Case Against Cruises, Shrikant states that cruise ships serve as a major environmental hazard as they consume excessive amounts of fossil fuels and often dump waste into the ocean. Furthermore, Kennedy mentions that cruise ships, they dump waste such as oil residues, which can harm marine life, and coral reefs, which are vital to our ecosystem. And without the coral reefs, we would lose a lot of the local fishing industries and also the tourism, because tourists like to go snorkeling in the coral reefs. Furthermore, Kennedy also notes that a study found that a cruise ship of 2,000 passengers and 1,000 crew members produces as much waste as a small city. In addition, Kennedy also mentions that while millions of jobs are created through tourism, many of the jobs provided related to tourism are low-paid or seasonal. In addition, she mentions that racism issues between workers and owners at resorts and other sites does unfortunately take place and is an issue that needs to be fixed. Lastly, Kennedy mentions that many of the resorts import their food from other countries rather than supporting the local economies, local agriculture. And nevertheless, by importing food, it's not only more expensive, but it also drains the economy and the environment. Another issue mentioned by Bekius in his article is that the resort development often destroys natural habitats, which you can lose that biodiversity and everything, which is obviously not a good thing. Lastly, LaRock mentions in her article that Cuba, for example, has a sex tourism issue that continues to affect the population and the tourists, and it's something that should be looked into. Overall, to sum everything up, it is up to the consumer to educate themselves on the issues taking place on the islands that they may choose to visit, and to decide whether or not they will choose to contribute to these issues or to try to take a more sustainable route.